Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
The program is a platform through which trending political news, events, and news on wiki we find out in the course of the discussion. Lastly, on our lineup for today is towards 2023 election. Election materials will remain with CBN, says INEC. Of course, you remember the CBN, the Independent National Electoral Commission, had said it will move sensitive materials away from CBN. And of course, the 2023 election, most likely those materials will remain with Uja. He'll be joining me via our visual platform to provide his thoughts and insight, perspective on this issue. Please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought
Are changed.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is ATN Politics. And joining me to provide perspective on these issues that we'll be considering today is Barrister Akintayo Balogun. Barrister Akintayo Balogun, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me again in your studio.
Well, that's great. Let's, without wasting much time, let's get started with the first issue on our lineup for today. Justifying our interest and lose our block vote. Hardest one, Atiku, Tinubu, Obi, and other presidential candidate. A Fulani sociocultural group known as the Kulen Allah Cattle Rearers Association of Nigeria has urged a presidential candidate to fully incorporate livestock development in their policies and program, or risk losing their block votes. In the Khalid Mohammed Bello gave the charge in a statement issued on Tuesday to the media. The association distribution to national economic food to Nigeria, they were also ignored, with the expectation of very few states, with the exception of very few states, are neither mindful nor concerned with the vital role played by the livestock sector in terms of creating millions of jobs opportunity for our youth, and people's livelihood fully depends on pastoral occupation. The group went ahead to say they've noticed that it is only through the creation of the Federal Ministry of Animal Resources that harbors problems and daily the pressing issue concerning herders' need of water point as well as animal feed during the dry period will be adequately taken care of. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, according to the group, is fully charged with numerous responsibilities that cannot allow it to fully incorporate livestock development in its yearly or daily programs, hence necessitating the appeal of the group for the creation of a special ministry for animal resources. Most of the money given to the state ministry, that is Ministry of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, is always spent on the development of arable farming to the detriment of fisheries and the livestock sector. The national president said, who facilitated, the group, commend or facilitated with the presidential candidate of the different political parties, from Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso Atiku, as well as Peter Obi. He congratulated them for their emergence as candidate of their respective party, and called on them to incorporate livestock development in their policy and program during the campaign exercise. Specifically, this is what they said. They said, we want our politicians to note that we have millions of herders who have the PVC at hand and are ready to cast their vote to candidates of their choice, more especially the ones who they notice care about their interest and general survival. The group went ahead to also say, we want to draw the attention of our presidential candidate, gubernatorial candidate, that pastoralist block vote, especially in the northern part of this country or at the highly competitive presidential level, will help one to clinch power. That is what they claim. They said they went ahead to say members always cast their votes, that is, members of the group cast their votes in block, because we normally don't want to divide our votes, but always put them together based on persons or party we strongly believe will fully consider us in policy formulation and implementation. Let's hold it here and get to our guest, Barrister Kintayo. Barrister Balogun, what do you make of this demand by these headers to the presidential candidates of the different political parties? They were not really directing it at anyone, but they directed it at all the presidential candidates. Need to incorporate livestock development in your policy and programs if you must get our votes.
Well, I don't know if I will consider that as a threat or as an information, but for me, everybody in this political era would want to be relevant. Everybody would want to be taken into consideration. Everybody would want to be part of the process. Everyone would want to have a say in the determination of who comes into office. So this is like an invitation to treat to all the candidates. Come, let us discuss. If you discuss with us well, we will get our votes. In that statement, they said they normally have block votes. That is, they have decided to vote for one person. Their votes is based on whatever they have consented to do, what we have just read out. So whoever is coming in, whoever wants their votes, to listen to them, give them their attention, and also give them probably what they are asking for. Of the four popular candidates, whoever is ready to offer them what they want, then the person most likely gets their votes. But on the other hand, I would say that nobody, no party, no group can single-handedly produce the person who becomes a president or a governor in any state in Nigeria. It takes a collective effort. It takes other people. I don't know how large that group could be, but that group cannot determine, alone cannot determine who becomes a governor or a president in any state. Maybe they can determine who becomes a local government chairman or a counselor. But a single group like that cannot hold the entire country to ransom and say it. Whoever we deliver our block votes to, that would win. I don't think that's practical. But I must commend their efforts in calling the attention of the presidential aspirants and the governors to their plight, and to their power.
Well, of course, when you look at their demand, they are calling for the creation of the Ministry of Animal Resources. And of course, they're saying the Federal Ministry of Agriculture is overwhelmed. When you look at such demand, how do you look at the demand? To be realistic, how do you look at the demand?
For me, that demand, if you would ask me, is unnecessary. You see, one of the problems we have in our system is
why?
Duplicity. Yes, it's duplicity. One of our problems in this system is the same thing. Now, let me give for example now. I travel today. After maybe by 5 kilometers, I'm stopped by road safety officers. They demand for my documents, they demand for license, they demand, do you have this, do you have that? Then after another kilometer, I meet officers of the VIO, and they demand for the same car document, they demand for my license. I move forward again, then I meet police officers, and they demand for my car document and everything again. Now you realize that we have 3 different organizations doing exactly the same thing. If I get to a state, probably like Lagos State now or Kaduna State, that also have their own internal arrangements for security, those ones would also demand for car documents. Hope you are wearing your seatbelt. So we have so many organizations doing exactly the same thing. That is one of the duplicity that we have in Nigeria. Now, yes, there's already a myth. You are saying a parastatal should be fine. If a department can be established under the ministry and say, okay, this department should look into issues of animal husbandry, animal production, animal exportation and importation, genetically modified animals and all that, you can have a department or a parastatal under the Ministry of Agriculture to do all that. Creating another ministry is just duplication of the same. So what then should Ministry of Agriculture be doing if we have another ministry that is called Ministry of Animal Husbandry? Or it's not, for me, it's not necessary. It's duplicity. Just when you have something under the Ministry of Agriculture, that should do. That's the way I see it.
But don't you look at it from the perspective that they are feeling, because they rightly put it, that of course most of the programs and projects being executed by the Ministry of Agriculture are more often tilted to the agronomic sector. They are more of arable crop production and stuff like that. Take, for instance, the Anchor Borua program, the cassava project and stuff like that. You tend to have less project on the livestock department. Of course, I want to believe that they have a livestock department. Before now, they had a Department of Veterinary Services, and of course, recently, of late, they now have what is it called? They now have Department of Livestock Husbandry Services, and they are feeling that when you go for the development of crops like cereal, root and tuber, you tend to have that of oil palm, you have that of rubber. But when you come to livestock, you just have one institute as a block, Institute of Animal Production, and Institute of, what is it called? The Veterinary Research Institute of Nigeria. Livestock tend to have limited parastatus. So don't you think it's because of this treatment that they feel more needs to be done? If the government tends to do more in terms of livestock, perhaps their problems would be addressed.
Yes, I agree. You know, when you were mentioning things, I even said, even we also have genetically modified seeds or plants. We have all that under which which the Ministry of Agriculture seemed to look at more often. Yes, I agree that attention is focused more on crop production, crop exportation and importation and all that. Yes, but the question is, does that warrant another ministry? With now, because less attention is given to animal production, animal husbandry, because of that, we should now create another ministry. For me, yes, I agree. More attention is needed. But all that is needed is simply create a parastatal under the ministry. Yes, let this, in fact, for me, if we have another parastatal that deals with issues like this, probably the issue of herdsmen and farmers clash will even be handled under this parastatal. That issue could be taken care of. Ordinarily, farmers are under the Ministry of Agriculture, herders are also under the ministry, because it all has to do with agriculture, because it does with animal production. Now, when we now have a parastatal that deals with this issue, probably, the clash would reduce where there is a parastatal of government that deals with it. But I am not in support of the argument that there is a need for another ministry to be created. That would not be necessary. Let me give another example. Under the Ministry of Science and Technology, we have so many parastatals. We have the National Biotech. We have National Biotech. We have so many of them like that. That in fact you hardly hear anything about them, but they are recorded under the Ministry of Science and Technology. They have their own director generals. They have their own administration. They have their own board. But that still doesn't make them a ministry on their own. So, fine, let them create a parastatal of government that should look into issues of animal husbandry. And as a matter of fact, it could even take care of issues of all this ranching, all this ruga, all the ruga that was proposed then, there was also this issue then, the issue of ranching particularly, would also be addressed under this parastatal. This parastatal would have nothing to do with plants. It is strictly on animals. Through this, we can even export if we want to. That's my position on it.
Well, thank you for your thoughts on that issue. Let's move on to the next issue on our lineup for today. Muslim ticket. Tinubu meets Debayo, that is the head of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. Presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, has met with the general overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor E. Adeboye, following the controversy trailing the Muslim presidential preference with the ruling All Progressive Congress. According to a report, Tinubu had set up a team of eminent person who he was scheduled to meet with the Christian leaders within the party and faith-based organizations like the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, and the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, as well as the Catholic Church, to appeal to them to secure their buy-in of the decision taken by the All Progressive Congress. A source in the Tinubu campaign team who pleaded anonymity noted that the plans, which was going to be a holistic approach to the crisis, was to make the Christian community see reasons behind the Muslim ticket, adding that Tinubu decided to lead a team of appeal to the Christian community. This day report that, of course, the meeting between Tinubu and Adeboye held on Sunday at the Redeemed camp. A reliable source also pleaded anonymity, confirmed that the meeting between the two was fruitful. He went ahead to add that, of course, the clergy was not really against the Muslim ticket. Tinubu was in company of his wife to visit the head of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, as well as others. He is expected to also meet with Khan very soon. Well, we'll hold it at this point and let's get back to our guest, Barrister Balogun. Barrister Balogun, what do you make of this development?
I've been expecting this, been expecting it for a while now. I actually saw this coming. I knew that very soon, begin to see politicians attending big church programs, you know, to woo voters or Nigerians to their camp and to vote for them. So it's not, for me, it's not coming as a surprise. I expected this, but of course, Tinubu knows that there is a big ordeal before him, which he needs to address, which he needs to deal with. And I'm sure that is why he's already beginning to have meetings with the leadership of the church. It's a big issue. You know, Khan have expressed his displeasure, you know, on this issue of a Muslim ticket. And of course, there is a need to see them, to talk with them. The Redeemed Christian Church of God in Nigeria is actually the largest Christian organization in Nigeria presently, if not in Africa. You know, and when you have a church organization with so much followership, you would need to see how to convince them or to woo them to be part of his vision or his plan, whatever. So I am not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. It's expected, and the only thing now would be how he would successfully convince them that there is no disadvantage to this his ticket. That is where the issue really lies. To this his presidential ambition. Now that you have decided to sideline the Christian community and feels that the only competent person you can get is a fellow Muslim, I think he has a big hurdle before him to climb over.
Barrister Akin, what do you, Barrister Akin,
Yes.
1 minute. What do you think he will be telling, what do you think he told Pastor Adeboye? What do you think he will be telling these people?
Okay, well, I wasn't in the meeting, and the only information we have is something from a reliable source. But, you know, here, there is an issue. The Christian community are not satisfied, or they are not pleased with this decision. So I believe that this discussion would be, you know, to try to convince them as to why they have taken up a Muslim ticket. The essence of the meeting would be to convince them this is why we have taken this stand. I think that's just what the meeting is about. And if we successful,
no doubt about that. No doubt about that. If you tell them
yes.
why, but what do you think is likely to be telling them? That is what I know. Many people will just be eager to know what he would be using to convince such leaders and the church.
Well, if what we just read out now in the news that was just read out, it was concluded by saying that he was in the company of his wife. Now, you know very well that his wife is not just a member of the church, but an ordained pastor in the church. You know, that too gives her that edge, gives her that position, gives her that place to be able to say, okay, we want to see the leadership of the church, and they're married to Christians. So, you know, function that is required. Probably that would be what their discussion was.
But do you think that is enough? Because of course we've seen with the current president, wherein the wife has actually, shouted to high heavens that of course this government is hijacked by some people. The wife actually admitted. So what if you have such scenarios? And of course the wife then becomes handicapped and can't help the situation to represent she depends, she represents.
Yes, that is why I said, now the office of the First Lady is not recognized in the Constitution. We don't have anything like that. You know, whatever creation it is not recognized.
Pastor in Redeem, and of course,
well, like I said, it's the that Redeem Church of God is the largest Christian body in Nigeria and probably the world. The followership is over 10 million. You know, so I believe it is the first point of call. As it is now, it's on record that the church is in over 190 countries in the world. You know, so if you have that very big followership, you need to start from there. It now means that the followership is even larger than CAN. If you would have been, if considering their presence all over the world. So I believe that is why he started there. And you know, Pastor Gabriel is also a very senior man of God in Nigeria, one of the most respected. Even CAN gives him that respect. I believe they see it as a place for us to start. Then we can move to CAN, we can move to every other religious organization that probably feels sidelined or infuriated by this decision. So they can step into all those.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're still watching ATN Politics. Before we went to the break, we tried to look at the visit between the visits of Tinubu, presidential candidate of All Progressive Congress, to see the senior pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, that is Pastor E.A. Adeboye. Let's move on to the next issue on our lineup. People's Democratic Party crisis, PDP crisis. Weke is being incited against Atiku and the PDP former governor of Jigawa State alleges. That is Sule Lamido. Former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, has alleged that some people are instigating Governor Nyesom Weke of Rivers State against the People's Democratic Party and its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. Lamido, who spoke during an interview with spoke with BBC Hausa on Monday, he noted that Weke was responsible and a committed member of the party. The former governor, however, pointed out that the Rivers State helmsman exhibited a sign of youthful exuberance. He said, we did a national convention, the highest gathering of decision making of the People's Democratic Party chose Atiku. Wike contested and lost. Wike is a responsible and committed man, but there is some youthful exuberance in him. There are people that are inciting him, but the deed has been done, and this did not start now. It happened with Peter Odili. It happened with Osibanjo. He should learn a lesson from them. Wike is aggrieved over Atiku's choice of running mate. Upon his emergence as the People's Democratic Party presidential candidate, Atiku picked Ifeanyi Okowa, that is the Delta State governor, as his running mate. The former vice president had rejected the recommendation of a committee set up on selection of running mate. Out of the committee where you had 16 men, 14 voted in favor of Nyesom Wike. However, Atiku ignored the committee's recommendation and picked Okowa. We'll hold it on at this point and get back to our guest to get his take. Barrister Balogun, what do you make of this statement coming from Lamido, that of course the River State governor is being incited against the party as well as the presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar?
You would agree with me that the last 1 month we have talked severally on this issue of Governor Wike being ought to have been the vice presidential candidate of PDP. Now, this is a very strong statement coming from former Governor Lamido, and you see, you would have reasons to agree with him that Wike is being incited against Atiku because there is a panel or there was a committee that that was set up, and the committee said, or the committee came to the conclusion that out of 16 persons that voted, 14 voted for Governor Wike to be the vice. Instead, former Vice President that chose to take Okowa instead. Now, that we must agree hasn't gone down well with Wike, because having lost the presidential ticket, ordinarily you would have been given the vice presidential ticket. Lamido said Wike, there's a statement there. He said Wike, that word, is it youthful exuberance? Yes. That may not be the right word for Governor Wike. Let's not use the word youthful exuberance for him. Yes, he may be a young man, but he is very active, he's very agile, and he's very frontal. Now, you would also agree in our previous discussions, I said it repeatedly. I said Governor Wike would not find it good, easy being a vice. In fact, he is not made to be a vice. He's not modeled to be a vice. He is someone who is good at the front of the battle. He is someone who is better leading from the front. That is the kind of person he is. So making him Shetima? Making him a spare part. That's Shetima that used that word. Making him a spare part, would definitely not be too easy for him as a person. So I agree with Lamido to an extent. Atiku cannot Wike ordinarily cannot serve as a vice. He's not modeled, his political nature is not modeled for that. But you see, the unfortunate dimension that the whole thing is taking is where we are having a little challenge. You will notice in the last 2-3 weeks, the body language of Wike has not been so encouraging to the party, has not been encouraging to the system. He has been silent, not heard anything. Someone that was always on the news every other day. If he's not criticizing the president is saying something. But in the last 2-3 weeks, we've not heard anything from him. He has not been online. He has not been on the air. As a matter of fact, he was on vacation. By the time he would come back, there was a meeting, a closed-door meeting between him and some governors of the All Progressive Congress. That shows that, yes, it is true. It is agreeable that there is a conspiracy and he's being incited. If he can be having meetings with all these people who ordinarily they would not sit down together to have a meeting. If he's now beginning to have discussions with them, then it means that he's being incited. But I hope he can accept the final decision of the party and work with it. That is, I hope Wike can accept the decision of the party and work with it. But for now, I would 100% agree with Sule Lamido. People. That's my position on it.
Well, he also said something. He said, we need to learn from the likes of Peter Odili and Yemi Osibanjo. What do you think we need to learn from these two people?
Well, for me, that statement is, I don't want to use the word derogatory, but it's uncalled for. Now, if you look at the history or what Peter Odili went through, in 2006, Peter Odili started extensive campaign to be president. He went virtually to all the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory, campaigning and declaring his intention and making it known, this is what I am coming out for. But when the president sat down, then President Olusegun Obasanjo sat down and looked at the whole thing. They said, no, let the presidency go to the north. It has been in the south for the past 8 years. Let us give it to the north. And that was how former President Yar'Adua was given the ticket. Now, the vice presidential ticket was to be given to Peter Odili. But from the reports we had, he turned it down. He wasn't willing, he wasn't accepting it. And then that was how the person who had little or no interest in the office, in the person of former President Goodluck Jonathan, was offered the ticket on a platter of gold. And that was how he became the vice president. Now, after 2007 till date, former Governor Peter Odili has not held any office. He has not held any position. He has not contested in anything since then till date. Now, if we also look at Yemi Osibanjo, Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, who was also mentioned here, you will see that I don't consider what he did as a failure, and I don't consider him as a failure. He knows what he has to offer. He knows what he has in him. That was why he was came out. So I don't consider him as a failure. He's still the vice president in Nigeria, and he's still doing his job perfectly. But of course, probably he might have lost a little political relevance by coming out against his boss. But for me, Wike continues in this dimension of being silent. I don't think it is just going to be him that will lose out. I think the party itself will be losing out heavily. So it is not just a Wike team, the party team. The party will lose out if they don't put their house together. If anybody is inciting him, you as party members, including former Governor Sule Lamido, go and incite him and encourage him and make him have reasons to stay with you in the party. That's the way.
Okay, well, thank you for that perspective. Let's move on to the last issue on our lineup, which has to do with the Independent National Electoral Commission. Towards 2023 election, INEC is saying that, of course, electoral material will still remain with the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Independent National Electoral Commission has said it will continue to keep sensitive materials with the Central Bank of Nigeria ahead of the 2023 general election. The National Commissioner for Information and Voter Education, Festus Okoye, made this known in an interview, a television interview on Monday. He said that the commission would resume engagement with the
from the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
The people. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. Honourables, you human
on the point of order.
Honourables, you are a human.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
and get self INEC window for registration
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what they blood.
I have fought a very family.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Good afternoon and welcome to another beautiful edition of Business Roundup here on Atlantic Television Network. I am Godwin Sunday and we're broadcasting live from the excellent, beautiful city of Lagos, Nigeria, and the commercial hub of West Africa. Here are the news making the rounds this beautiful afternoon, but first, the headlines. CBN raises interest rates to 14%. Seplat fits in. Wema top advances as market opens weak in grain. Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange set to go live. Traders, buyers, grown as food inflation hits 20.60%. CBN, Pencom rated low in revenue remittance index. Welcome back, and now to the news in details. The Central Bank of Nigeria on Tuesday raised the interest rate to 14%. The new interest rate comes barely 2 months after the Apex Bank raised the interest rate to 13%. This was disclosed by the governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, after the committee's meeting at the CBN headquarters in Abuja. The governor of the Apex Bank said the hike in interest rate would help tame rising inflation. More details will be coming later. Nigeria's equity market opened the new week in green after raising by 0.20% or 57 billion naira at the close of trading on Monday, July the 18th. Seplat Energy PLC led that league of advances on the Nigerian bourse after its shares price moved from 1,300.50 to 1,413.50 naira, adding 130 naira or 10%, followed by Fitsin Healthcare PLC, which increased from 9 naira 41 kobo to 9 naira 90 kobo, up by 49 kobo or 5 points, 21%, and Wema Bank, which rose from 3 naira 74 kobo to 4 naira, adding 26 kobo or 6 points, 95%. The stock market performance indicator or share index and market capitalization increased from preceding days trading with 52,215.12 points and 28,157 trillion respectively to 53,319.94 points and 28,214 trillion naira. UBA, Senate Bank, FBN Holdings, Access Holdings, and GT.co were top traded stocks on the Nigerian Exchange Limited, as investors in 4,525 deals exchanged 116 naira. United Capital Research Analysts said in their July 18th note ahead of market open that they expect continued bargain halting this week as investors continue to look forward to the first quarter earnings season, cherry-picking stocks with the potential for strong earnings performance as well as interim dividend payments. Still on the news, Lagos Commodities and Future Exchange has concluded arrangements to commence real-time trading this month as part of the plans to inaugurate the Pan-African Commodities Exchange. As a build-up to the historic inauguration schedule for Thursday the 28th at its trading floor in Niger House, Lagos, the exchange has conducted a series of tests on its state-of-the-art technology and other basic infrastructure to drive the process of operations in line with the global best practices. A statement from the exchange indicates that it had listed several tradable instruments, registered 40 dealing members firms, and certified 128 commodities brokers to commence both physical and remote trading after the inauguration. Already, the Securities and Exchange Commission has approved 13 products for the trading on the exchange. The exchange is the only one that has the Commission's approval to trade gold. Upon the inauguration, the exchange will kickstart with trading of electronic receipts on the following prime commodities: oil and gas, agriculture, solid minerals, and currencies. The exchange has also put in place necessary infrastructures to trade in derivatives as hedging instruments for investors. The high-profile inauguration is expected to be attended by top government functionaries, captains of industries, and seasoned financial market regulators and operators. Still on the news, traders and buyers in Lagos market have expressed dismay over soaring prices of food items as Nigeria's food inflation figure again recorded an upward tick, moving from 19.50% recorded in May to 20.60% in June. According to figures by the National Bureau of Statistics, the composite food index rose to 20.6% in June 2022 on a year-on-year basis. The rate of exchange and average price level declined by 1.23% compared to 21.83% in June 2021. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, in a report titled Consumer Price Index, May 2022, said the rate of changes in food prices compared to the same period last year was higher due to the higher food prices volatility caused by COVID-19. This rise in the food index was caused by increases in the prices of bread and cereals, food products, potatoes, yam and other tubers, meat, fish, oil, and fats and wine. Still in the news, in its quest for transparency and accountability in the petroleum sector, Other paper has unveiled the volume 1 of its Revenue Remittances Compliance Index. The Revenue Remittances Compliance Index is made possible with data provided mainly by the Fiscal Responsibility Commission. The index report comprises 3 categories: above average compliance, and below average compliance. According to the index, the Central Bank of Nigeria and the National Pension Commission, the Contents Development and Monetary Board, and 16 other agencies have performed below average. Our correspondent reports that the unveiling took place during a meeting with journalists and other representatives from the various organizations in Abuja. We move straight to the aviation sector. Airlines may continue to face untold hardship with regards to jet fuel, as there is a new price regime for the product, as a liter in different states of the Federation have shot over 800 naira per liter, with the lowest price being sold in Lagos. Atlantic Television just learned from a reliable source that Jet A1 in Lagos sells for 822 naira per liter, while in Abuja, the product sells for 859 naira per liter. In Port Harcourt, Jet fuel sells for 852 naira per liter, while it sells for 890 naira and 892 naira in Yola and Maiduguri respectively. Almost all airlines are anticipating delays and maybe cancellations given this new increase, which will jack up the new price regime may have caused fear in many airlines as the conditions for operations in Nigerians currently are strangulated. An airline operator who spoke to our reporters on the ground of anonymity described the situation as extremely serious and has further reduced the profit margin that was hitherto seemingly non-existent. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, Business Roundup continues. Please go nowhere. Welcome back. Just in case you're just joining us, this is Business Roundup here on Atlantic Television, and I am Godwin Sunday. The aviation sector woke up this morning with the breaking news of aero contractors announced it's shutting down operations due to the impact of the challenging operating environment on its daily operations. The airline, in a statement, said it will temporarily suspend scheduled passenger service operations with effect from Wednesday, July the 20th, 2022. The airline said this does not in any way affect the maintenance activity of the approved maintenance organization, AMO, otherwise known as Aero, MRO. The approved training organization, ATO, also known as Aero Training School, the helicopter and charter services operations. This decision, the airline said, was carefully considered and taken due to the fact that most of its aircraft are currently undergoing maintenance, resulting in its inability to offer a seamless and efficient service to our esteemed customers. As a member of Spring Alliance, a commercial alliance with members airline providing mutual support in the area of operations, the airline said it is liaising with its partners airline to minimize the impact on their esteemed customers. Still on the news, Nigeria's headline inflation rose on a year-on-year basis to 18.60 as at last month, but as of this morning, it has risen to 20.60% in 2002. The nation's data agency, National Bureau of Statistics, announced this. This is the highest in 5 years. The last time the country's inflation rate was higher than the current level was in January 2017, when it was 18.72%. The latest inflation figure represents a 1.82% increase over 18.71% in May 2022. With the current level of inflation means is that an item that cost 100 naira in June 2021 now costs 118 naira 60 kobo currently. Food inflation surged to 20.60% in June 2022 as against 19.50% in May 2022, but lower than 21.83% in June 2021. Nigeria's rising inflationary pressure have negatively impacted the purchasing power of Nigerians' household and businesses. Despite raising its monetary policy rate, interest rate, Nigeria's inflation is now 20.60% above the World Bank projection of 15.5%. In its recent Nigeria's Development Update, June 2022, the continuing urgency of business unusual, the Global Bank projected that Nigeria's inflation rates going to be higher than it had anticipated and would hit 15.5%. The latest inflation figure from the National Bureau of Statistics released on Friday and on Monday showed that the nation's inflation rose to 18.60 and 20.60% respectively in June and early July, the highest since January 2027, when it was 18.72%. The Nigerian Bureau of Statistics said in June 2022, the inflation rate increased to 18.60% on a year-on-year basis. This is 0.84% points higher compared to the rate recorded in June 2021, which is 17.75%. According to the statistics body, urban inflation rose to 19.09% and rural inflation hit 18.13% in June 2022. This is despite the recent interest rates increase by the Central Bank of Nigeria. In May, the CBN raised the nation's interest rate from 11.5% to 13%, and earlier this morning, in a bid to address inflation, the CBN again increased to 14%. The CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, disclosed that the Monetary Policy Committee had to increase the monetary policy rate by 115 basic points to prevent inflation. According to the World Bank, rising inflation will push millions of Nigerians into poverty in 2022. Still in the news, Nigeria's Treasury bill yield has increased to 7% from about 3% in less than 2 months after the benchmark interest rate was hiked by 115 basic points by the Central Bank of Nigerian Financial Market Report has shown. This was due to rising inflation, which led to an increase in the benchmark interest rate from 11.5% to 13% on May 24, 2022. The development is seen as a good opportunity for investors to reduce negative real returns on their investment. A month ago, TBs yielded 4.13% on average in the secondary market. At the end of last week, the average yield was 6.81%, implying its 268 basic points jumps. Specifically, the one-year T-bill yield rose by 113 BPS to 6.39%. However, the major drivers of the overall T-bill yield last week were the shortest end of the curve, specifically yields on the 3 months plus 602 BPS and 6 months plus 446 BPS. T-bills have risen significantly to 9.50% and 8.62% respectively. As a result, part of the yield curve is now inverted as 3 and 6 months yields are higher than 1-year yields. With the rising treasury bills yield, lending to real sector of the economy may suffer as banks are forced to channel their money into treasury bills. Commenting on the development, Uche Uwekele, professor of capital markets and president of the Association of Capital Markets Academics of Nigeria, said rising government borrowing is primarily responsible for it. The rate has to be high to make them attractive to investors, he said. Secondly, in view of the rise in inflation rates, the CBN may be using it alongside open market operation bills to mop up excess liquidity in the system from higher allocation by the Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC. Nigeria's inflation accelerated to 18.60% year-on-year in June from 17.71% in May 2022, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. According to the coronation report, the reason for the inversions is a sustained squeeze in the banking system liquidity. In recent weeks, outflows from the system, such as the cash reserves requirements, open market operation, T-bills, federal government bond auction debits, have outweighed inflows from the sources such as FAC, allocation to state and local governments, T-bills and open market operation maturities, and the federal government bond coupons. The immediate reactions of the banks last week was to raise their deposit rate. They also sold off short-term liquid instruments such as the CBN special bills and short-dated T-bills, leading to the rapid increase in yields. Still on the news, Nigeria's headline inflation rose to 18.60% in June, and as this morning, it has risen to 20.60% on a year-on-year basis. The National Bureau of Statistics announced this. The current level is higher than the 17.71% recorded in May 2022 and 17.75% in June 2021. The mounting inflationary pressure in Nigeria have further confirmed the concern raised by the World Bank in its report that more Nigerians will be pushed into poverty if nothing concrete was done. Before the Russian-Ukraine war, higher inflation pushed an estimated 8 million more Nigerians into poverty between 2020 and 2021. In 2021, inflation averaged 17%, undermining Nigeria's economic recovery by eroding the purchasing power of the most vulnerable household. We project that the added inflationary pressure emanating from the war could push as many as 1 million more Nigerians into poverty, on top of the 6 million already projected before the war. The World Bank said in June 2022, on a month-on-month basis, the inflationary pressures also increased to 1.82% in June 2022 compared with 1.78% in May. Since the beginning of the year, food inflation has been responsible for the uptick in Nigerians' inflation as a result of farmers' inaccessibility to their farms due to the widespread of insecurity, and the food scarcity was further worsened by the Russian-Ukraine crisis. Just last week, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics announced that the food inflation component rose for 7 straight months to 20.60% in June 2020, as against 19.50% in May this year. Correspondingly, the month-on-month increase was 2.05% in June 2022, in contrast to 2.01% in the previous month. Nigeria's rise in inflation could partly be attributed to the knock-on effect of the price of diesel, which has increased by approximately 278.01% since January 2022. Many companies or businesses demand on diesel to power their generators as well as trucks used to transport food items. A recent survey conducted by Atlantic Television Network found out that 8 out of Nigerians lack 10 hours of power supply daily, one of the worst hit regions being the Northeast, Southeast, and South-South geopolitical zones. According to the state of the Federation, 18 states recorded inflation rates higher than the national average of 18.60% in June 2022. The worst hit states are Bauchi, Kogi, and Ebonyi. The inflation rate hit 21.99% in Bauchi, 21.37% in Kogi, 20.73% in Ebonyi, 20.65% in Rivers, and 20.03% in Ondo State. On the other hand, the state with the least inflation rate in the country are Kwara. Inflation rates in Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, raised the monetary policy rate to 14%. Industry stakeholders are already envisaging reactions from the CBN to curtail the rising price of goods and services. Seen on the news, the number of the bureau de change operators in Nigeria has risen by more than 75-fold in 16 years, from 74 in 2005 to 5,689 in 2021. Data from the Central Bank of Nigeria indicated. Compared with the 2015 figure under the current administration, the number of BDCs have risen by over 100% from 2,839 6 years ago. Atlantic Television's findings shows that the astronomical increase in the number of BDCs was a result of attractive exchange rate premiums. The exchange rate premiums between the officials and BDC's rate is 188 or 44.02% as at July 12, 2022. The official exchange rate, which is the investors and exporters forex window rate, stood at 427 naira 75 kobo per dollar as of July 8, 2022, while the BDC's rate closed at 615 naira on July 12. Whereas the bank has continued to sell US dollar at about 197 naira per dollar to these operators, they have in turn become greedy in their sales to ordinary Nigerians, with selling rates off as high as 250 naira per dollar. Given this rent-seeking behavior, it is not surprising that since the CBN began to sell foreign exchange to BDCs, the number of operators has risen from a mere 74 in 2005 to 2,786 BDCs today. In addition, the CBN receives close to 115 new applications for BDC's license every month. More disturbing, Emefiele said, was the financial burden being placed on the central bank and its limited foreign exchange. In order to curtail this reserve depletion, we have reduced the amount of weekly sales to $10,000 per BDC, which translates into $28.4 million depletion of the foreign reserve per week and $1,476 billion per annum. This is huge homage of our scarce foreign exchange reserves and cannot continue, especially because we are also concerned that the BDCs have become
Television.
Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. Honourables, you human trafficker. Honourables, you are a human.
Welcome back, and just in case you're just joining us, this is Business Roundup here on Atlantic Television Network, and I am Godwin Sunday. Motorists and commuters and between Lagos and Ogun State on Tuesday again lamented the biting consequences of the lingering fuel scarcity as the situation remained unchanged from the trends experienced over the past 2 weeks. Checks by our correspondent showed that the price of premium motor spirits, commonly referred to as petrol, seemed to have stalled at 200 naira per litre, about the same price the product has been selling in Lagos, Abuja, and some states over the week. It was observed that a number of selling stations in Lagos remained closed for business, ostensibly due to the unavailability of the product. Also, the few outlets dispensing the product in the cities had long queues as motorists justly to buy the product. Further check by Atlantic Television has showed that transport fares across various parts of the Lagos maintained a 50% hike due to the continued scarcity of PMS. Some routes witnessed hikes as high as 100 naira per cent. China's economy grew at the slowest pace since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in second quarter, highlighting the punishing economic toll of Beijing's stringent dynamic zero-COVID strategy. The world's second largest economy expanded just 0.4% on year between April and June, official data has shown, as lockdown across the country stifled industry, production, and consumer spending. China's economy grew at the slowest pace since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic in the second quarter, highlighting the punishing economic toll of Beijing's stringent dynamic zero-COVID strategy. The world's second largest economy expanded just 0.4% on year between April and June. Official data has shown as lockdown across the country stifle industrial productions and consumer spending. The Niagara expansion was the worst performance since the first quarter of 2020, when the China's economy shrank 6.9% after authorities imposed the first COVID-related lockdowns in the city of Wuhan. The result, which was well below market expectation, comes amid rising fears that the world could slip into recession as the war in Ukraine, supply chain disruptions, and rising interest rates could cloud the outlook for growth. The data was weaker than expected, with most analysts expecting around 1%. Caslo Casanova, senior economist for Asia at UBP in Hong Kong, told Atlantic Television, China's has set an economic growth target of about 5.5% for 2022, which economists barely believe Beijing will struggle to reach. Banks borrowed 595.34 billion naira from the Central Bank of Nigeria between January and February. Data obtained by our correspondents have shown. The CBN's monthly economic report showed that while 333.59 billion was borrowed through the standing lending facility in January, the amount reduced to 255.75 billion naira in February. The CBN said it increased liquidity in the banking system caused a reduction in the amounts borrowed by the lending institutions. The report said subdued activity in the SLF window and the strong patronage at the standing deposit facility confirmed increased liquidity in the banking system. Activities at the standing facilities window reflected an ease in banking system liquidity during the period under review. The total SDF increased significantly by 60.79% to 472.38 billion from 293.79 billion naira in January 2022. Conversely, transactional at the SLF decreased by 24.69% to 255.75 billion naira from 339.59 billion naira in January 2022. Speaking on liquidity in the sector during the period after a monetary policy meeting, the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele has said members noted that the growth rate of broad money supply M3 increased to 2.12% in February 2022 compared with 1.74% in January 2022. This was largely attributed to an increase in the growth rate of net domestic assets to 5.78% in February 2022 from 2.62% in the previous month. After suffering decline in 2021, Nigeria's assets under management in mutual funds rose to 3.64 billion naira in the first 5 months of 2022. Coronation Asset Management disclosed this in a report on mutual funds industry. The report stated that this year, after a 10.6% decline in total assets under the management during 2022, the actual fund industry is growing again, with total AUM up by 8.7% in the first 5 months of the year to 1.52 trillion. That is about $3.64 billion. The compound annual growth rate for the industry between 2015 and 2021 was 33%, or 14% per annum in inflation-adjusted terms. 1 year after the publication of its report comparing mutual funds, Apple and Oranges, Coronation Asset Management said it returned to the subject of comparing the performance of Nigeria's mutual funds with its latest report titled Comparing Mutual Funds to Apples and Orange and a Grenade. The report is a key investigation into the rapidly growing 1.52 trillion naira mutual fund industry in Nigeria, it said. Still on the news, traders at various markets in a number of states, particularly AK Awka Market in Awka South local government area, are lamenting the new tax regime of the governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo. According to the traders, there is no need for them to be forced to pay multiple tax and levies daily. Our correspondent gathered that the shop owners in the market are being taxed as much as 14,200 naira, while hawkers are randomly forced to pay 200 naira at various times and places daily. A breakdown of the levy includes a stallage fee of 4,800 naira, market development fee of 2,400, market traders fee 3,000 naira, pollution sanitation fee of 2,000, biometric market registration of 700, and market operation fee of 1,300. The governor of the state, Soludo, during a meeting with parks and market executive in the state, disclosed the introduction of this new tax regime. He said the move was because the era of revenue generation through the sale of crude was gradually phasing out. According to traders in the market, they were informed of the new development last week, Thursday, and were asked to pay up between Tuesday to Friday. Speaking to journalists in Awka, a former chairman of AK Awka Market, Emeka Onyemechi, disclosed that prior to this, the state government has banned all cash payment of revenue from July the 1st. However, people claiming to be government officials invaded the market recently, demanding cash payments without any information from the government. We'll get to see what the government reports in subsequent bulletins, and we'll keep you abreast on that. But still on the news, the International Monetary Funds have said inflation, debt, and foreign crisis is pushing the Nigerian economy and other African economy into the brink. The managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, said ministers of finance and central bank governors on the continent disclosed this to her this week. She added that most countries on the continent could raise money from the global financial markets and do not have large domestic market to turn to. She stated the particular difficult condition in many African countries at this moment is important to consider. In my meeting with ministers of finance and central bank governors from the continent this week, many highlighted how the effect of this entirely exogenous shock was pushing the economics to the brink. According to the MD of the Washington-based lender, the human and economic impact of the war in Ukraine has worsened with commodity price shocks and increase in cost of living, leading to a crisis for hundreds of millions of people, she said. Inflation is now higher than expected and has broadened beyond food and energy prices, which has prompted major central banks to announce further monetary tightening. She disclosed the fund will downgrade its global growth projections for both 2022 and 2023 in its World Economic Outlook update later this year. She explained that it is going to be a tough 2022 and the possibility of a tougher 2023 is quickly materializing. We hope to see an adjustment in those figures in the subsequent news. But then, still on the news, Nigeria's bank received a combined deposit of 48.64 trillion naira from customers across various account types in the first quarter of 2022, which was 20% above 40.47 trillion naira collected in the comparable period of 2021. Analysis of the total deposit received from the customers based on account type for the Nigerian lender reviewed that 47% equivalent to 22.87 trillion were paid into the current account. When disaggregated, customers deposited 10.38 trillion naira in terms and 12.16 trillion naira in savings account across the banks listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited. According to Gloria Fedipe, head of research at FCMB, deposit represents banks' fund use in making money. She further noted that deposits have a direct relationship with bank loans, stating that if deposit increase, loans increase. The banks registered positive growth in customers' deposit, with EcoBank leading the pack with 11.11% increase to 8.23 trillion naira, followed by Access Bank with 31.87% increase to 7.49 trillion naira, and Zenith Bank with 27.87%. That is about 7.25 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2022. EcoBank Transnational Incorporated recorded deposit from customers amounting to 8.20 trillion in the first quarter of 2022, the highest reported by Nigeria's bank in the first period under review. The bank's total customers' deposits represent 11.11% uptick from 7.38 trillion recorded in the comparable period in 2021. Data extracted from the bank's unaudited financial statement as provided by the Nigerian Exchange Limited revealed that based on account types, current deposits contributed the bulk to total customers' deposit by 63.78%, amounting to 5.23 trillion naira in the first quarter. Other account types, such as term deposit and savings deposit, amounted to 1.52 trillion naira and 1.44 trillion naira, respectively, in the first quarter. The second highest on the list is Access Bank, accounting for 7.49 trillion of customers' deposits in the first quarter of 2022, showing a 31.87% from 5.68 trillion naira recorded in the first quarter of 2021. Based on account types, terms deposit contributed to bulk in the quarter, accounting for 42.99% of customers' deposits. In the first quarter of 2022, firms' deposits amounted to 3.22 trillion naira, while savings deposits and current deposits amounted to 2.76 trillion naira and 1.52 trillion naira, respectively. Total deposit from customers recorded by Zenith Bank in the first 3 months of 2022 amounted to 7.25 trillion, a 27.87% increase from 5.67 trillion recorded in the first 3 months of 2022. A breakdown of the customers' deposit by the bank showed that current deposit contributed the highest, accounting for 55.45% of the total deposits from customers. Current deposit amounted to 4.02 trillion naira. Terms deposit amounted to 537 billion naira, and savings deposit amounted to 1.28 trillion in the first quarter of 2022. The deposit UBA recorded from customers amounted to 6.65 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2022. This is a 14.83% uptick from 5.79 trillion naira the bank recorded in the comparable period of 2021. Based on account types, current deposit accounted for the largest chunk of the total customers' deposits by 59.55%, amounting to 3.96 trillion in the first quarter of 2022. Terms deposits and savings deposits amounted to 962 billion and 1.73 trillion in the first quarter. First Bank recorded an increase in deposit from customers by 20.39% to 6.14 trillion in the first quarter of 2022, up by 5.10 trillion recorded in the same quarter last year. Based on account types, current deposit amounted to 2.13 trillion naira, accounting for 34.69% of the total customers' deposits in the first quarter of 2022. Terms deposit and savings deposit amounted to 1.17 trillion and 1.85 trillion in the first quarter of 2021, respectively. GTCO reported a rise in customers' deposit by 12.50% to 4.03 trillion naira in March 2022 from 3.60 trillion in March 2021. The financial services provided recorded the highest customers' deposit in the current account deposit segment, which amounted to 2.27 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2022, accounting for 56.05% of total deposits from customers. Terms deposit and savings deposits in the quarter amounted to 566 billion naira and 1.21 trillion respectively. Deposit from customers recorded by Fidelity Bank in the first quarter of 2022 amounted to 2.07 trillion naira and 18.29% increase from 1.75 trillion in the first quarter of 2021. Based on account types, current deposit amounted to 758 billion naira, accounting for the largest chunk by 36.62%. Terms deposit and savings deposits amounted to 395 billion and 475 billion in the first quarter of 2022, respectively. FCMB reported an increase in deposit from customers by 18.94%, amounting to 1.57 trillion in the first quarter of 2022, as against 1.32% in the comparable period. On the review based on account type, the bank recorded the highest customers' deposit from the current deposit accounting for 42.93% in the first quarter. Current deposit amounted to 674 billion, terms deposit amounted to 475 billion, and savings deposit amounted to 423 billion in the quarter. We'll go for a short break right now. When we come back, the analysis continue here on Business Roundup. Please go nowhere. Welcome back, and just in case you're just joining us, this is Business Roundup here on Atlantic Television Network, and here are the news that we've been tracking so far. CBN raises interest rates to 14%. Seplat, Fitz and Wema top advances as market opens weak in grain. Lagos Commodities Futures Exchange set to go live. Traders, buyers, grown as food inflation hits 20.60%. CBN Pencam rated low in revenue remittance index. Here's the news we're particularly tracking, but when we'll keep you posted on the the Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the interest rates this afternoon to 14%. The new interest rate comes barely two months after the Apex Bank raised the interest rate to 13%. This was disclosed by the governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, after the committee's meeting at the CBN headquarters in Abuja today. The governor of the Apex Bank said the hike in rates would help tame rising inflation. What's your take on the generality of the CBN's policy this afternoon? This is coming in some hours ago, when the CBN made it known to us that they've just increased the ratings to 14%. So according to the CBN governor, this would tame the inflation and the rising inflation in the country. I don't know what your take is, but you can let your comments start coming in right now.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what they block.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. Honorables, you human trafficker. Honorables, you are a human trafficker.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but so no agreement with the EU, but
welcome to another edition of the program Government and Public Service. This is where we x-ray and present issues and happenings around the three levels, branches, ministries, associated departments, and agencies of government, giving you an in-depth, unbiased, and factual reportage. And these are some of the major highlights we will be looking at on today's program, starting with Bauchi State. Government is battle ready for criminals, says Mohammed. And still on the ASU story, federal government in frantic moves to end strike. And this is coming from Oyo State, Adebayo Lawal as new deputy governor. Still on the monkeypox virus, Borno government confirms 4 cases. And in Kano State, government restrict tricycle operators' activities. On insecurity matters, federal government considers suspending boarding in rural school. Flood control, Lagos warns residents against clogging drainages. And in Enugu State, government to train 400 women on tech ecosystem. From the Nigerian Bar Association, Buhari sent congratulatory message, service delivery, minister charges civil servant. And on the NDLEA story, Abba Kyari's trial begins. Natural disaster, flood cuts of local government from Yobe, says Governor Buni. Unemployment, federal government commences training for unskilled Nigerians. Digital technology, federal government to develop agri sector. Still on the agricultural sector, federal government distributes input to smallholder farmers. And on health, federal government engages WHO to develop Lassa fever vaccine. This is from the Delta State government. They blame
Meet the people making the difference in our time on ATN Icons. Here, we present you legends celebrated for their heroism in different fields and serve as role models today. ATN Icons, showing every Sunday 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes DTH channel 194, ATN Live on Google App Store, Facebook Atlantic Television Network, YouTube Atlantic Television Network, Instagram Atlantic TV Network, Twitter Atlantic TV Net. For sponsorship 0810-634-1777. ATN Icons, celebrating the giants of our time.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
The people, the candidates, the party, the campaigns. What really makes an election here? Enough of the rhetorics. It's time for issue-based politics. 2023 elections. Who are the candidates? What do you know about them? Take a seat, relax, and join us for the 2023 elections on Atlantic Television Network, StarTimes, DTH, Channel 194, or ATN Live on Google Play Store and all our social media platforms. Twitter is at Atlantic TV Net. Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram is at Atlantic TV Network. Elections 2023 from Mondays to Fridays at 8 p.m. Election 2023. We the people have a stake.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. Honorables, you human trafficker. Honorables, you are a human trafficker.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics,
Nobody's ambition is what they belong.
I have fought very firmly.
natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing. Honorables, you human trafficker. Honorables, you are a human.
They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Yeah. Finally, I don't make cash, yo. Anything for your bright price, oh. I pray to God, make me no crash, oh. Cause our love no get spare parts, oh. As I'm a man, I go give you the best part, oh. I know if you skip you to the next track, oh. Ebele chukus, I know more you this smart, oh. And if you been on a first class, oh. Say now you every day hold me down when they rap by no day. Man, take it to play. I can't let you go, baby, no way. Aye, baby, makatakwa. And if no believe, man, I'm on wetakwa. They laughing at me, my hamang hotakwa. Say I go right for you, go hard for you. My kimara man is so cool. When the man you me go, my baby, you right for you.